A couple of years ago, the UK released 26 alphabet coins, and A to Z of all things British. There were some formal designs, like the Houses of Parliament or Union Jack, and then some much more fun and quirky things, like fish and chips and the Loch Ness Monster. The coins were such a success that Australia recently did the same, launching 26 new dollary-do designs. But here's the twist. I don't know what they are, and neither does my good friend and fellow YouTuber JJ McCullough.
That's right, Chris, and so what we are going to do is take turns guessing our way through the entire alphabet. We have each designed 26 Australian coins of our own, and we shall take turns revealing what we picked for each letter. Chris will go first with his guesses, and then I will show you what I picked after. And then at the end, we will see who guessed most of them right, and thus who knows the most about Australian culture.
And you can play along at home with a pen and some paper, and see if you can beat me or JJ. Letters A to M will be in this video, and then part 2 will be on JJ's channel, so make sure to head over there afterwards and check it out. So let's begin. For A, I thought about going for Ayers Rock, but then I thought that's way more likely to be used for the letter U, going by its traditional name Uluru. So my guess was Aborigine, although I'm fairly uncertain. I believe the word Aborigine describes a particular group of Indigenous Australians, and isn't as inclusive as simply saying Indigenous Australians, so yeah, I'm not 100% sure about this one.
So my choice for A was Anzac Day, which is Australia's annual holiday for war remembrance. Anzac meaning Australia and New Zealand Army Corps.
And the answer is...
Australia Post!
Okay, I think Australia Post were heavily involved in distributing these coins, but that still doesn't seem like the best option for A.
I feel like it's a bit of a cop-out to just name something with Australia in the title as the A thing. Although I guess my choice sort of did that too.
But JJ isn't entirely wrong. A month or so back, Katie, a subscriber of mine from Australia, very kindly sent me a letter with a commemorative dollar coin, commemorating the 100th anniversary of Anzac Day. So maybe he deserves half a point for that one. Now for B, I think there are two highly likely options, barbecue or boomerang. Barbecues are definitely what I think of when I think of Australian food, and they're undeniably a huge part of the lifestyle and culture. But because they're not uniquely Australian, I've gone for boomerang.
For B, I picked Bollocky Bill, which is a famous Australian poem about a dog sitting on a lunchbox. I know that this image of the dog on the box is a very iconic thing in Australia.
Boomerang!
Yes, there we go, looks like I'm in the lead.
Well, I guess in retrospect, boomerang did seem pretty obvious.
When I was 9, I went to Australia with my family, and we landed in Sydney in the very early hours of the morning after a 24-hour flight. Because of the time difference, we were wide awake, and I remember we went for a walk along the waterfront between Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Opera House. By now it was like 6 AM and there was no one around, but I just remember there were hundreds of cockatoos everywhere, sort of like seagulls or pigeons in the UK. And for 9-year-old me, this was the coolest thing ever. Literally my first impression of Australia, and it felt so exotic and fanciful. So because of this, for C, I'm going for cockatoo.
For C, I picked the beloved Australian sport of cricket, a game about which I know nothing, but I know that the Brits have made popular in many parts of the world, including in Australia.
Cricket!
I knew it. First right answer.
Well, if it's any consolation to 9-year-old me, there is a cockatoo on the $10 bill. I'm expecting a lot of these coins to be animal themed because of the country's really unique and iconic wildlife, so I did consider D for dingo, but I think the really obvious answer has got to be didgeridoo.
For D, I also went with didgeridoo. I mean, how could it not be?
Let's see if we both got this one right.
Didgeridoo!
Again with the animal theme, I did have emu or echidna. Echidnas are these really wonderful little animals. They're monotremes, which means that although they're mammals, they lay eggs. However, there's already an echidna on a standard Australian coin, and although that doesn't automatically exclude it, I think there are definitely more likely choices. So I did also consider emu. Again, it's already on the 50-cent coin, but ultimately I went for eucalyptus. These can grow to be some of the tallest trees in the world. They make up almost the entire diet of the koala, and they're a true Aussie icon, definitely deserving of a place on the coin.
For E, I just went with Emu, one of Australia's many giant beloved bird creatures.
Esky.
Okay, I think that's like an Australian brand of beer cooler or something. I was really lost for F. I did consider flag, because I know on the UK coins we have the Union Jack, but I thought the word flag itself was a bit vague and unlikely, so in the end I went for footy. They have their own version of football called Australian rules football, and the word footy itself is one of those really iconic bits of Australian slang.
For F, I just went with flag. I feel like with these sorts of things, there's always a few just bland choices.
So is it flag, or was I right to change my mind?
Footy.
Oh yeah, I think I've got half of them right now. Continuing with the theme of slang, my immediate thought was g'day. Then I thought about gold and the gold rush, but really had my mind set on the Great Barrier Reef. It's such a beloved source of pride for Australia, and I even drew up the coin as my guess. But then I got stuck for the letter R, so decided to use it for reef instead and went back to my original guess, g'day. I've used the coin to highlight some other popular Australian slang, such as crikey, straya, barbie, struth, bonza, and Sheila. Please excuse my truly awful attempt at an Australian accent.
My pick for G was Gallipoli, which was the site of a very famous battle in Turkey that the Australians fought in during World War I. The sacrifices made by Australians in the First World War tends to be a very commemorated thing in Australian culture.
G'day.
Oh wow, I was a bit unsure about going for something that wasn't like a tangible, drawable thing, but I guess it paid off.
I don't know how I feel about putting a phrase on a coin. That would be like if the Brits put like Cheerio or something on one of their coins.
H was a letter I found really tough, and honestly I didn't know what to go for, so I went for hat.
For H, I picked Harry Parkes, who is sort of like the Australian George Washington, the founding father of the Australian Federation.
Hills Hoist.
That's a really odd choice. I think JJ's guess was way better. Is a washing line really that culturally significant?
I still maintain that the founder of the country would have been a better pick for this one than some sort of clothesline.
I has 100% got to be Steve Irwin. There was this big campaign to get him on a banknote, which sort of understandably failed given how formal banknotes tend to be. And he isn't formally a scientist or artist or anything, so I really hope they've compromised and put him on a coin instead.
My pick for I is Indigenous Peoples. This is the more inclusive term that Australians increasingly use to describe the two main groups of their native peoples, the Aboriginals and the Torres Strait Islander people.
Iced Vovo.
What? Oh man, Steve Irwin can't even get on a coin. I suppose iced Vovos are some kind of specific thing you'd only know if you were Australian. But come on, it's Steve Irwin. This guy's like a hero of mine. I thought J was nice and easy. Joey.
I had a hard time with J, but I eventually settled on Jumbuck, which I think is a sort of old-fashioned Australian slang term for a sheep. I know that they use the term in the Waltzing Matilda song.
Jillaroo and Jackaroo.
I guess these last few, the cultural differences are really holding us back. I haven't really heard of any of them. Now the really obvious choice for K is kangaroo, however it could also be koala or kookaburra. Since there are 5 kangaroos on the standard dollar design, and there's a kookaburra on the new $20 note, which I still don't actually have, I'm going to take a chance and go for koala.
For K, I went with kangaroo, but I feel we can be 99% sure it's either going to be kangaroo or koala.
So is it kangaroo or koala?
Kangaroo.
Kangaroos get all the glory. It really should have been koala. I mean, they've got all the qualifications. I really didn't have a clue for L, so I sort of cheated and went for lyrebird, simply because it's already on the 10 cents coin. We've just seen they did it for kangaroo, so I've got my fingers crossed.
My pick for L is a lamington, which is a kind of Australian cake with jam inside. I feel good about this one after that iced Vovo thing.
Lamington.
That's a really impressive one to get right. Well done, JJ. So this is the last one in my video, and I've been thinking a lot about Australian foods, and maybe it's just me being uncultured, but I couldn't really think of many. One of the things I did think of though was meat pies. I'm not sure what meat they are, or maybe that's deliberately ambiguous, but they tend to be served with a little dollop of sauce on top. And yeah, I think they're suitably iconic.
And for M, I went with Mabo Day, which is the anniversary of a historic court case that cemented the legal rights of Australia's Indigenous peoples, named after this guy, Eddie Mabo.
Meat pie.
Yes, I had a good feeling about that one.
I am thinking I might have been overthinking this one a little bit.
I haven't really been keeping track, but I think me and JJ are pretty much neck and neck. I've never even heard of some of them, and a few guesses which I was sure of ended up being completely wrong. So how many did you get right so far? And if any Australians are watching, what do you think of the coins? Are they doing a good job of representing your country? Or are there any letters that you'd personally change? Part 2 is over on JJ's channel, so make sure you head over there to see the rest of the coins and find out who will win.